Hello, my name is Kazim Adegboyega and I'd like to welcome you to Icons Micro CBT series on Exchange Server 2010 management tools. If you're new to Exchange Server, you're probably wondering or asking yourself right now that, after Exchange Server has been initially installed, how then do I configure it? How do I manage it? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, after the initial setup of Exchange Server 2010, there are a number of tools that has been made available to us for managing Exchange Server 2010. Now let's take a closer look at these tools, shall we? Specifically, we have three number of tools that Microsoft has made available to us to manage Exchange Server 2010, namely the Exchange Control Panel, the ECP, we have the Exchange Management Console, the EMC, and we have the Exchange Management Shell, the EMS. Let's begin with the Exchange Control Panel. The Exchange Control Panel provides web-based access to end-user tasks and administrators' tasks alike. For instance, when a regular user logs on to the ECP, the regular user can carry out tasks such as configuring Outlook web app settings. The user can also track his or her personal mail messages. The user can as well manage his or her personal mobile devices, so on and so forth. Whereas when an administrator user logs on to the ECP, the administrator user can manage different user mailboxes. The administrator user can as well track messages of different mail users. So in a nutshell, the Exchange Control Panel can be used to carry out very minimal administrative tasks. The next tool, which is a very powerful tool, is the Exchange Management Console. The Exchange Management Console is a graphical user's interface tool that we can use to manage our Exchange Server organization. So now, the Exchange Management Console provides us a graphical view of all the resources and components of an Exchange organization. Right. The next tool is the Exchange Management Shell. The Exchange Management Shell is the most powerful of this management tool, and the Exchange Management Shell is a command line interface tool for administering Exchange Server 2010. And do keep in mind that Exchange Management Shell is built on top of PowerShell. Now, if you're new to Windows PowerShell, please feel free to download Icons Micro CBT on Windows PowerShell. So now that we know the basics of these management tools, let's jump into the demos, shall we? The first tool that we're going to be looking at is the Exchange Control Panel. And to access the Exchange Control Panel, we need to open up a web browser such as Internet Explorer, and then we'll type in our Exchange URL, https:// the server name of your Exchange server or the IP address of your Exchange server. I'm more acquainted with the IP address of my Exchange server, so I'll go with the IP address instead of the host name /ECP Exchange Control Panel. Not to worry if you get the certificate error. This simply indicates that we don't have a valid certificate installed yet on our Exchange server. So I'll click on this link to continue. Right, so I can type in my domain name, which happens to be Icons Bootcamp / the user that I want to log in as. I want to log in as my administrator user at this time, and then I'm going to supply the administrator user's password and click sign in. Now this is what the interface of the ECP looks like. As you can see, we can search for users' mailboxes. Right now it's displaying one mailbox because I only have one mailbox activated. We can also do things such as configure journaling rules for our different mailboxes. We can look up my personal mobile devices if I have one, or other users' mobile devices since I'm logged on as the administrator. Good. The next tool that I want us to look at is the Exchange Management Console, the EMC. By the way, if you don't know how to launch the Exchange Management Console, you click on Start, All Programs, Microsoft Exchange Server 2010 Programs Group, and then you can click Exchange Management Console. And you can also launch the Exchange Management Shell from the same location. Right. So the Exchange Management Console is broken down into different consoles. So as you can see, we have this portion of the console known as the console tree. The console tree is broken down into organization configuration, server configuration, recipient configuration. So I can decide to click on any of the server role that we installed. Clicking on the server role, you will notice that something else changed here at the middle portion of the console. The top of the middle portion of the console is known as the results pane, while the bottom part is known as the work pane. And the last part of this console is called the actions pane. Now, the content of the icons actions pane, I beg your pardon, is going to get populated depending on what you have selected on your console tree. Let's attempt to click on the hub transport server role, and then as you can see, the content of our actions pane has changed yet again. So I'll click again on recipient configuration. Notice that it has also changed. Alright, so this is a summary of the look and feel and what the interface of the Exchange Management Console looks like. Let's take a look at the Exchange Management Shell next. As you can see, the Exchange Management Shell has similar look and feel to the PowerShell interface. The Exchange Management Shell works with commandlets. So that is how we get to communicate with the Exchange Management Shell. And if I want to see the list of Exchange Management commandlets that we can work with, I can type in this command that we can see here, get X command. Let's type it in and see what it throws back at us. Get X command and press enter. Right, so these are all the listing of the available Exchange commandlets. There are other commands that we can work with, such as get user. What this command would do is to query our domain controller. So it queries Active Directory for all the available Active Directory user, all the accounts that you've created on your domain controller. So that's what the command is trying to do right now, is attempting to query our domain controller, and now it has returned something back to us. These are the list of all the available users that I have on my domain controller as of yet. There's another command, get mailbox. If I want to view all the mailboxes that I have created on my Exchange server, at the moment I only have one mailbox created, and the mailbox was created for my administrator user. Never mind, the second mailbox is a system level mailbox, so I didn't create it. It was created automatically by the system. Good. Now, Microsoft recommend that every administrator, every Exchange administrator has a working knowledge of the EMX, the Exchange Management Shell. Now, the reason is because there's just so much that you can do using this very powerful tool. So the knowledge of PowerShell for management of Exchange server isn't just an option, but a necessity. So this brings us to the end of this micro video on Exchange management tools. I hope it's been informative, and thank you for using Icon CBT.